This is it! This is it! Let's go! Let's get going! Call the doctor!
No, that's my job!
Do you remember when we used to sit in front of the TV and burst into laughter at Lucy Ricardo's antics? That clumsy redhead who, with her irresistible charm and unforgettable facial expressions, transformed the afternoons and evenings of so many families into moments of pure joy. I Love Lucy wasn't just a television show, it was a cultural phenomenon that crossed generations, bringing color to our black and white lives. If you had the opportunity to watch this comedy masterpiece, you know exactly what I'm talking about, that warm feeling of nostalgia that only true classics can evoke. If this series marked your life as it did for millions, share this story with those special friends who you know also experienced these magical moments alongside Lucy and Ricky Ricardo. And don't forget to comment if you watched it and what your favorite scene was. No one thought a red-headed woman with a Cuban accent could conquer America. We were all wrong. Desi Arnaz's words echo through the decades, capturing the essence of a television revolution that began in a modest CBS studio in 1951. Behind the recorded laughter and seemingly innocent domestic scenes of I Love Lucy, there was a fierce battle against prejudice, revolutionary technical innovations, and a real marriage that was disintegrating while millions watched the perfect couple on screen. The story Americans watched in their living rooms was just the polished surface of an iceberg of tensions, innovations, and audacity that would forever change the way we consume entertainment. And the truth is more shocking than you imagined. When Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz created I Love Lucy, television was still an experimental medium, dominated by white men in suits who dictated what America should watch. CBS itself strongly resisted the idea of showing an interracial couple on screen, even though Ball and Arnaz were married in real life. They told me directly that the American public wouldn't accept it, Ball revealed years later in a never-before-published interview. So I said, how about we ask them? The couple embarked on a vaudeville tour to prove that the audience would accept them together, a risky move that few know about. Behind the scenes, Lucille Ball, then 40 years old, was considered too old to be a television star, another fact that executives used against her. What no one predicted was the iron determination of a woman who had survived the difficult years of the Great Depression, selling hamburgers at a New York diner while trying to break into show business. The creation of Desilu Productions in 1950 was much more than a simple commercial venture. It was an act of rebellion. At a time when women rarely held positions of power, Ball became the first woman to lead a major production studio in Hollywood. Recently discovered internal documents reveal that several banks denied loans to the couple, with one bank manager handwriting unfeasible concept, foreigner and woman as business leaders. Lucy's response? Mortgaging her own house to finance the pilot. Few know that while CBS executives insisted the series should be filmed in New York, where all major television productions were made, Ball and Arnaz refused to move, thus creating the need to develop the multi-camera filming system that would revolutionize television production forever. Desi always said, if they don't let us in through the front door, we'll build our own house, confided Madeline Pugh, one of the few female writers of the time, whose contributions were often minimized. The couple's insistence on filming on film, rather than the low-quality kinescope used then, was seen as absurdly expensive and unnecessary. What executives didn't realize was Arnaz's long-term vision, who correctly predicted the value of reruns, a concept he practically invented, securing property rights over the content at a time when no one imagined that TV shows would be watched more than once. This seemingly simple decision would yield millions in the years to come and fundamentally change the television business model. While I Love Lucy gained popularity, a political storm was forming around it. It was the McCarthy era, and fear of communism hung over Hollywood like a toxic cloud. What few know is that Lucille Ball was effectively investigated by the FBI and called to testify before the Committee on Un-American Activities. The reason? In 1936, she had registered to vote as a member of the Communist Party, a fact that could instantly destroy her career at its peak. Declassified FBI documents reveal the extent of the investigation, with agents interviewing neighbors and co-workers. Arnaz, a staunch anti-communist who had fled Cuba after Batista's revolution, publicly defended his wife. The only thing red about Lucy is her hair, and even that's not natural. This phrase, which generated laughter at the time, masked the terror the couple lived behind the scenes. Philip Morris, the program's sponsor, even prepared a termination statement, which was never used thanks to Desi's personal intervention with the company's president. In contrast to this external pressure, the set of I Love Lucy was an oasis of creative innovation. Lucy would call me at 3 a.m. to discuss a physical gag, recalled director Mark Daniels. She would ask me if it would be possible to make such a movement without seeming vulgar. Her concern with details was obsessive. This obsession often caused tensions with the rest of the cast. Vivian Vance, who played Ethel Mertz, revealed in recently discovered personal diaries that she initially resented having to wear less attractive clothes and makeup that aged her to contrast with Lucy's beauty. I felt like an ugly duckling for years, but eventually realized that this was essential for the dynamic of the series, wrote Vance. What few know is that Ball insisted that Vance receive one of the highest salaries for a supporting actress at the time, recognizing her value to the show despite occasional tensions. William Frawley, who played Fred Mertz, was another case of tension behind the scenes. At 64, when the show began, Frawley had a reputation as an alcoholic that made many executives oppose his hiring. Desi called me into his office, Frawley revealed years later, and said, "Bill, if you show up drunk on set even once, you're out." It was the only ultimatum I needed in my life. What the public didn't know was that Frawley and Vance deeply detested each other off-camera, to the point of refusing to have lunch together or even talk when they weren't filming. This animosity, in contrast to their on-screen chemistry as the Mertz couple, was so intense that their contracts had specific clauses to limit their interactions. While the series exploded in popularity, reaching unprecedented audience numbers. 44 million viewers watched the episode of Little Ricky's birth, surpassing the audience for President Eisenhower's inauguration the following day. Ball and Arnaz's real marriage was rapidly deteriorating. Desi's infidelities were known within the production's inner circle, with assistants often tasked with diverting calls from lovers and creating alibis. It was like living a lie every day, confided a production assistant in a never-before-published interview. Lucille knew everything, but kept up appearances with impressive dignity. Arnaz's alcohol consumption increased considerably during the production of the series, with reports that he frequently arrived at the studio exhausted after nights of gambling and partying. The episode Lucy is Pregnant marked a watershed moment not just for the series, but for American television. Ball's real pregnancy had to be incorporated into the show, but the word pregnant was banned by CBS for being considered too explicit. Instead, they used expecting. Ball, furious with this censorship, worked with the writers to create one of the funniest and most emotional episodes on television, pushing the boundaries of what was allowed to be shown. Behind the scenes, doctors remained on set due to Ball's advanced age, 41, for a pregnancy at the time. What few know is that she had suffered a miscarriage years before, making this pregnancy even more emotionally significant. Ball's physical genius as a comedian often overshadowed her business acumen. During the 6 seasons of I Love Lucy, she personally negotiated contracts, supervised scripts, and directed episodes without official credit. Lucy had an eagle eye for financial details, revealed Desilu's accountant. She knew exactly how much each production element cost and where we could save without compromising quality. This attention to business allowed Desilu Productions to grow exponentially, eventually buying RKO Studios and producing hits like Star Trek and Mission Impossible, a legacy that far transcended the comedy that made her famous. The Chocolate Factory episode, considered one of the most iconic moments in television, was inspired by a real experience Lucille Ball had in a bakery during her struggling years. She told me about how she was humiliated when she couldn't keep up the pace and the other employees ridiculed her, revealed writer Bob Carroll Jr. What many don't know is that the famous scene was filmed using real chocolates, and after multiple takes, Ball suffered an allergic reaction that closed her throat, requiring medical intervention. Her dedication to physical perfection almost cost her life, but she insisted on continuing filming the next day. The decision to end I Love Lucy at its peak surprised the industry and fans. The true reason, kept secret for years, was the complete deterioration of the marriage. We could no longer pretend, Ball admitted in a letter to a close friend. Each laugh in front of the cameras cost tears behind the scenes. The divorce came in 1960, and with it the sale of Arnaz's shares in Desilu, making Ball the most powerful executive in Hollywood. While the original series ended, its impact was just beginning. The innovative format of I Love Lucy would be copied countless times and exported globally, influencing productions in countries as diverse as Japan, Brazil, and Russia. Interestingly, while I Love Lucy conquered the world, another Latin American program would follow a similar path decades later. El Chavo del Ocho, known as Chaves in Brazil, which would be shown in a total of 22 countries, demonstrating the global appetite for comedies that transcend cultural barriers. The post-Lucy years were marked by dramatic contrasts for its protagonists. Arnaz struggled with alcoholism and never achieved the same success, eventually retiring to a farm in California where he raised horses. Ball continued her career with other TV shows, none achieving the same impact as I Love Lucy. Vivian Vance refused to play Ethel again, tired of being associated with a role that made her look older. William Frawley, unable to find meaningful work due to his age, died in 1966 at 79. Ironically, it was Arnaz who paid for his funeral, despite the frequent tensions between them. The greatest legacy of I Love Lucy, beyond the laughter, was opening doors for women and minorities in the entertainment industry. Lucy showed me it was possible, Mary Tyler Moore declared years later. She didn't just star in the show, she owned it. The series also established technical standards that remain, to this day, from filming with multiple cameras to the presence of a live audience. But perhaps the most powerful legacy is emotional. Lucy Ricardo became a symbol of female resilience, a woman who constantly challenged imposed limitations, even if she failed comically in the process. When Lucille Ball passed away in 1989, the entire nation went into mourning. What many don't know is that she and Desi Arnaz, despite their tumultuous divorce, reconciled as friends in their final years. "I never loved anyone but her," were supposedly Arnaz's last words before his death in 1986. Together, they not only revolutionized television, they captured the spirit of the American dream. Two outsiders who, against all odds, redefined entertainment through talent, hard work, and a vision that transcended their time. As Ball once declared, "It's not a failure to fall, it's a failure to stay where you fell." In a medium as ephemeral as television, I Love Lucy achieved the impossible. Permanence. Each new generation rediscovers Lucy and her antics, a testimony to the enduring power of a woman who refused to accept the limitations of her time and in the process changed the world of entertainment forever.